Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well. In today's video we are taking a look at another instrument from the Cropico Precision Instrument Company. This particular one is a resistance bridge and is type PW4. Very similar construction to the thermocouple potentiometer that we looked at quite a while back, type P6 here. You've got this metallic instrument that has been housed in a cardboard looking box here with some sort of PVC slash vinyl covering on the inside and outside of the lid there, but you can quite clearly see the cardboard there. As with the thermocouple potentiometer, the leather strap is broken. That's fairly common for this kind of instrument. And the instrument itself is reasonably rare. You don't see these very often. You do see quite a number of those instruments about, so I don't have much information on this. From the box itself, we do know that it was calibrated in 1994 by Measuring Instrument Services up in Wigan. Can't find any reference to Measuring Instrument Services now. I believe the company's probably gone defunct or been swallowed up by another company. There is another company, Pullman's, who are very close to that address in Wigan. I don't know whether they took them over or not. There's nothing on their website to suggest that they have. You also notice that I've already taken it out of its box. That was to check the batteries. I always do this when I get an old instrument like this. And you can see here the battery compartment here that was for 3 AA batteries. And our little tray here, you can see the battery has leaked inside there, so as a consequence there's a fair bit of corrosion. That's the spring out of it, and that's the front cap out of that, so that's all been corroded and in need of replacement. I've purchased this one from RS Components 2364024. That's the closest one I can find, so we will get that slapped in there when we clean the instrument up, and hopefully we can see if it does still work. No real details on this instrument at all. It's quite hard to find information on this. There are a couple of pictures of other PW4 instruments available on the internet. One has this style of knob on it for the selection range, and the other one has the same style as these ones from the thermocouple potentiometer. And we know the date of this one. I saw that in the previous video. We'll leave a link to the video on this in the description box below, so you can look at that if this want to. That's 1962-63. This one with this style of knob, maybe this is a little bit older, maybe approaching to the 1970s. If we look underneath around this selector switch here, you can see there's these more modern style resistors as opposed to these wire wound resistors that would be the norm for this kind of instrument. So I don't know if this is a later modification that's been done. If it has, again, it looks to be fairly sympathetic, because you can actually see not only have they done the solder, they've varnished on the solders, which would be an original build quality control. They would varnish all the connections after soldering, so I think virtually nearly all are soldered, so I don't think it looks to say it's very sympathetic if it is, but whether it is the original, you wouldn't expect to see these resistors, would you really? Unless it is a fairly older unit. That's just the later design, if you like. But yeah, fairly dirty, fairly grubby. You can see whoever had it before, this has snapped and they've tried to do a temporary repair on that. So we've got a replacement for that, so we'll see what we can do. Again, not sure what's happened here, whether this in itself has been replaced previously, I don't know. A fair bit of damage around there, but other than that it seems to be in reasonable condition. The box is a little bit more damaged than on the thermocouple potentiometer. So yeah, that's an intro to the instrument. So the previous video will have more information on that and on Croydon Precision Instrument Company / Cropico themselves. So what I'll do is I'll get this cleaned up. I'll get the battery holder in place and we'll do some tests on it and see if we can get it to work. So we've been doing a little bit of repair work to it. We've cleaned up the case, which is cleaned up pretty well, to be honest with you. Fairly happy with that. We've repaired some of the seams a little bit. Might be I'll put a bit more tape here to protect this. This is actually broken away, so might want a bit more strengthen inside there across the seam here as well. So I'll perhaps look at that over time. Left the labels in there. They've cleaned up quite nicely. I quite like that kind of thing because it gives a bit of history to the unit. So quite happy to leave them in there. Strap wise, we're waiting for some parts to arrive. We've got a bit of fake aged leather as I've purchased to replace this strap with. So we'll see what that looks like. We've got some D-clips, they've arrived, but the press studs and the rivets, they haven't arrived yet, so I'm waiting for them. And then we can have a go at replacing the handle. The alternative to that would be to stitch a replacement bit, strengthen it over here, and make up a strap piece for this bit where the D-ring went, or shorten this one off completely. You have to go beyond this press stud really, otherwise if you remove this press stud you'll have a hole in the leather in your handle, so it would shorten it a fair bit, but that could be the other thing we could do. We'll decide that at a later date. With regard to the instrument itself, we have been doing some repair work for this as well. As you can see, if I press the button, we now get deflection. So this is now all up and running. And there's our new battery holder put in place there. This is the old one that's come out. You can see it's quite badly broken away at the front there. This new one is a tad bit longer. If I hold them up there, you can hopefully see down at the end there, and it's about 1/8 of an inch, 3mm longer, but it does fit inside this case. I can just get it in there, just scrape a little bit, but we can get away with it, so we're happy to do that. And we have a fairly functioning instrument. Let's put him underneath there so we can prop him up a bit. Fairly basic to operate. We have a range switch here from 0.1 round to 10k, and we have our dial here that gives us our reading in ohms that we multiply the range by. So when the range is set to 0.1 here, we'll be reading 80 milliohms on the scale here. That's the lowest that this instrument can read, and we can do that in 1 milliohm resolution up to 150 milliohms here, and then we can step up to 20 milliohm resolution, and then it gets more and more as we go around. If we come right around to the 10k over this side here, we would be reading up to a maximum of 125k with a 1 kilo ohm resolution. So that's the range of our instrument. There is no lead nulling here, so whatever you're measuring, especially down at these lower ohms, you would have to take off your lead resistance in order to compensate for that. But what we can do is plug into our bridge, and hopefully we can set him up there. You can see if I get the leads out of the way. We are set to 0 at this moment in time, so we can see that we are actually going all the way over, so we've got a bit of resistance in there. Turn this around, not so much, turn around again. It is quite hard to turn around this dial. It gets a bit easier as you go a bit further round. So on there. So I've gone too far now. Take him back a bit. So Can't see very well because there's a camera in the way. Doesn't look like we've got too much movement there. So looking at that there, we've got 150 milliohms, 160, 162, 164 milliohms residual resistance on there. If I now flip him up to 1 ohm, not that way, go that way, and again we go right the way over, so we've either got to dial this all the way around to our 10, so that would be 1 ohm, but we haven't gone far enough because we've still got another 160 milliohms to do, so it would be somewhere around about there, a little bit more. Yeah, looks like we've got no movement there, so on that one there we are 110 and 14 times by your 0.01, so that would be 1.14 total ohms I'm reading. I would obviously need to subtract my residual to account for my leads to get my actual reading. If we flip him around, let's go 100 kilo ohms, so we will be around there. We need to not go too far there, we still there. 90 should go the other way, it does. Yeah, not particularly sensitive, unless you could be the angle that I'm looking at here. There's no movement there that I can see. There's a bit of movement there. Yeah, that's what we've got there. So we are 99 kilo ohms there, that's reading, against 100 kilo ohm on the resistance box there. We can go somewhere in between as well, can't we? Let's go good old. Let's go for a good old 47k. That's a good one, isn't it? Not going too much there, so need to go back this way. Not too much. Down to the 4, should go the other way there. Very fractionally. A bit. Yeah, looks like we've got there, and we've got 4.5, 4.6, 4.65 kilo ohms against 47 kilo ohms on the resistance box there. So it seems to be reading to a fairly reasonable tolerance there. Obviously need to play around with it a lot more to get some more accurate measurements out of it. And we'll just see that to show you that we can actually put this back into the little box. It does fit, so it's a bit of a squeeze, but it will go. There we go. So that fits in there, all nice. And then we could screw the feet back in there. We've still got those, so they will then go back in there to hold the instrument in place. So if you have to replace your batteries, you've got to dismantle the instrument a wee bit. But there you have it. I have noticed, I did draw the circuit out, that there is no off position for this. So if you jam something in the lid, you can obviously keep this pressed on and drain your battery. And if you switch them around to a 0.1 ohms, 1 ohms, it does fly over. So you need to be a little bit careful. It means there's no damping on the instrument either. Usually a portable instrument, you would damp the moving coil, put an off position switch so you damp it so that it doesn't get damaged during transit. The only thing I can think of is if you short it out here, then you would then effectively damp it and also protect against it if you did jam this press to read button in. But we have no instruction manual for it, so I don't know whether that's something that they did or whether it never really bothered them. It doesn't appear to be a particularly accurate instrument overall, but we have got it up and running. Happy with that. There is no value to doing any of this, really, no financial value. I won't be able to sell this for any profit or anything like that. It's just something that I like to do, get these instruments back up and running and have a play with them. But that will be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you found it useful, and I'll see you again in the next one.